Alright, what's going on, everybody? It's time for our typical night stream, our Monday night stream. And we're hanging out here, playing with Anton, our old boy. I'm sure if you've been around for the past week or so, you've seen me working on this guy, and we're going to continue to work on this guy. In this morning stream, we took a look at his jacket, and cleaning up that and getting that to a more professional level, as well as just adding in some folds here and there, as well as some asymmetry and some other larger form changes. And now we're gonna move on to his shirt here, which is going to be the next step in the process. And while we do that, I'm just gonna take a second here to head on over to my browser, where is she, and talk about Sculpt January 2018 again, just for the people that possibly missed it. I would assume that most of you have heard about this. I'm not affiliated with this in any way, shape, or form. I just heard about it recently, and I thought it was a really cool thing for you guys to start out doing in 2018 for the entire month of January. It's a little bit of a challenge here, if I can scroll down. Show you guys the calendar and some of the stuff that you can work on here. If you guys were around for the earlier stream, or if you saw my video this morning, you already know about this, so I'll try to make it quick. But it's essentially just a quick little challenge each day for the month of January, offering some different things to work on. So Monday's anatomy, and each day of the week has a different thing for you to work on. And if you participate, this is a kind of a little bit of a participation award. If you participate every day and tweet a photo using their hashtag, which I believe is SculptJanuary18, you have the ability to win a Wacom Intuos Pro Medium tablet. So it's pretty cool, and I thought it was a pretty good way to kind of start the year off right with some ZBrush sculpts every day. And I think it's a good way to kind of build that habit now while we're starting out the year. So start the year out strong, start up the challenge, and see what you can do. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, if sculpting more in 2018 sounds like something that you want to do, if you want to improve and get better, check it out. Head on over to, what was it? I think it's on Weekly CG Challenge, that's right, .com, and check out their stuff. But yeah, I think it's a pretty cool idea, and I would love to participate, but we got a lot of other stuff that we want to work on ourselves here, and I do not need an Intuos Medium tablet. I'm content with what I got here, so which is a little bit bigger, just a wee bit, but definitely check it out, guys. I just really quick want to fix these extra whiskers that I got going on. I made these in a pretty crappy way, and I'm not super happy with the overlaying effect that I'm getting on a lot of these, and I would like to either redo them or just tweak them completely to change them. We'll keep that in the foreground of our mind while we move forward, though, on our cloth. So that's our main goal here today, and we'll try to continue doing that. So if you guys can see here my concept, I'll try to move it up here so you can see some of the form in the cloth. We're going to try to get some of these folds in here, and let me just open up my camera here so that I can rescale that and position it a little bit better. Alright, so we're going to try to get some of these folds in here looking at the shirt, and I kind of blocked these out really quick during our last stream if you guys were around for that. Pretty much the exact same techniques that I'm going to use that I used on the jacket. So I'm going to use a lot of a sharp soft edge brush, which is similar to the damn standard brush if you guys are familiar with that one. And that's a little bit of the difference there. So it's a little bit softer. I didn't really press that hard for that one, but it's pretty similar. A little bit of a different alpha, different fall off, just slightly different. But I prefer that one a little bit more. But yep, we're gonna do our best here to create some of these forms and see what we can do. So let's get to it. I'm just gonna use my clay tubes brush here to add a little bit of form here and try to blend that edge towards the bottom as well as pinch. And I do want to subdivide this to get that a little bit higher. And use my lazy mouse, because we are lazy. No, we're not lazy, we just want to get a little bit of a cleaner line. Lazy mouse was not a very good name for that. I'm offended by that name, actually. No. I think lazy mouse actually explains what it is pretty well. I think there's some other tools similar to lazy mouse if you're not familiar with it. There's like what's it called? It might be called like Lazy Nezumi or something like that. It's pretty similar. There's some other stuff, but for the most part it's all the same. But with the Lazy Nezumi, if that's the name, if I'm recalling that correctly, you can use that in Photoshop or really in any program, I believe. I'm not sure if it's just Photoshop or what, but there are some few other ones. Lazy Nezumi might be Mac only. I remember one of them being Mac only, but either way, they're pretty cool tools. They make life even easier for us digital artists. As if it wasn't easy enough, right, guys? Got all these. We don't have to do it the hard way, the traditional way. Thank God. Now I have a little bit of a problem happening there with my clay brush, and I can try to see if I can fix it. So if you get some weird interactions going on some brushes, it's weird that it's happening here. I'm not able to build up on that form. Let's see here if I hide that. Yeah, okay. Just little quirks of ZBrush here. So I'm sculpting on something that has two subtools here, and the meshes are kind of intermingling a little bit, and you can see actually, yeah, it is, okay. So a little bit of some geometry popping through there. I figured that was the case. So the brush was just having a little bit of trouble reading what surface I wanted it to sculpt on. So if you have that issue, and it's somewhat hard to recognize exactly when it's happening, but if you have some weird stuff going on with your brush and you have two pieces of geometry in a singular subtool here, that's most likely the cause. Not too often that it happens to me, because normally keeping it to one piece of geometry roughly per subtool in the same area, but a little bit of some weird interactions there. But just some quick fixing and some quick form changes. I'm going to continue to use my sharp soft edge brush to create some form here, and really what I'm looking for right now is just a little bit of some stuff to break up the surface. A lot of this isn't visible and a lot of it doesn't matter, but I'm just trying to follow the lines that I see happening here and try to replicate some of those. And I like to do things a little exaggerated at first and then push them back from there. So we'll see how that turns out. Move with AccuCurve, which you guys have seen me use in the past multiple times here, is great for getting some sharp points to change and turn in your surface. And I think we want to start that a little bit earlier. Something like that. So just to get some interesting folds here, and then come back through and play with creating some form change here. Some different stuff. And I don't want to spend a ton of time on this because, again, most of this isn't really seen, so just a few more strokes, I think. And we can move on to adjusting some of the rest of this. Ooh, and Life with Steph. Welcome. Welcome, Steph. Let me see. I was wondering what was going on. My pretzel unfurled. Let's wrap that guy back up. There we go. Star Drops by James Flamestar. Steph, welcome to the stream. Love the live streams. Thanks for telling us about Sculpt January. Absolutely. Glad to have you here with us. Thank you for coming to hang out. Always appreciate getting to talk to new people. And yes, Sculpt January, I think that's going to be a lot of fun for a lot of people, and I hope that people get a lot out of that. Sounds like a cool little project. Getting a little bit of some weird pinching, so I want to again hide that so that my brush can read correctly, and now you can see that it's pinching a little bit better. So again, hiding that, just making sure that it's reading the correct surface there. Turn that down a little bit longer, or a little bit more. And just a few extra shitty lines here, just to break up my surface. And now begins the process of knocking our form back. So I knew that happened, so let me undo a couple times here. I cleared my mask here while this was visible, and another weird thing about ZBrush, it looks like my mask is cleared over on here that I previously had, but if you see, if I try to sculpt over there, it's not going to do anything. So I do still have a mask visible, so I just wanted to show you I can clear my mask right now, but instead I decided to mask something off, and that's going to say, hey, this is still masked, but it wasn't visible. You can actually have something masked, and you can turn off the visibility of that mask if you want. So just keep that in mind as well as you're working. So another reason to, if some things aren't working the way you want, check to see if you got something masked as well. Another quick little way to check that. Alright, let's look at creating some, or knocking back some of this form and then cleaning it up. So we still got subdivs. Subdivs are very helpful with this kind of thing. As I am going to pretty much destroy almost everything I just did. Not all of it, but a good portion, as I want to taper some of these folds in specific ways. Typically I'll soften them a lot more towards the edges for this kind of thing as I go, so that they start to blend out as they terminate, and really just soften a lot of these. We've been using the basic material today a lot too, so I'll probably switch back to my normal Follygon clay material here in a little bit. But let's continue to use it while we mess with some of this form. And in some of these places you'll see where it's catching the light quite a bit. You can move your light around if you need to, just to see how that's playing. with your form a little bit, but for the most part where I have it is just fine. Where did you get the B Sharp Soft Edge brush? I made it. Are you streaming anywhere else? And that's cool. I did not know that. Awesome. Yeah. I stream over on Twitch as well, so I'm using restream.io right now. So multi-streaming through YouTube as well as Twitch. And those are the main ones that really matter. The only ones where people watch. But mainly people just come here and hang out on YouTube. Currently, it looks like there's a couple people over on Twitch as well, hanging out. But yeah, either or is totally fine. But at least on my YouTube channel, if there's anything that you miss, the streams always get uploaded afterward. And so if you miss anything, or if you miss a stream entirely, you can always watch it. Everything gets uploaded. It's all live. So if I say anything stupid, it's out there forever. And I don't care. No, that's not true. What you mean people watch stream on other places? So I'm using there's essentially it's just a web app called Restream.io, and I stream to that, and it streams to other websites, so that other people can watch from different locations. So if you're a big Twitch person, you're watching on Twitch, glad to have you with us. But if you want to watch on YouTube, that's fine too. So just to have a little bit more options available there. I don't like that. We'll have to fix that, clean that up. But let's look at some other areas here. I'm just kind of doing some quick pinching. I really like using my pinch brush in this way to kind of just turn my form and get it to begin following these lines that I've kind of already created, but just kind of force them in a little bit of a way. The alt pinch stroke is really good for that as well, and I use that all the time. People watch people on stream other video sites, not just YouTube and Twitch. I can't remember. I stream on one other site. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. I honestly shouldn't even stream on the site because nobody ever comments on it, which is totally fine. And nobody's on there right now, and pretty much nobody. I honestly probably just have my settings wrong on it. I can't remember the name. Picarto. But yeah, Picarto is a little bit of a one of the weirder ones. Not that Picarto is bad or anything, but there's maybe the crowd is a little bit different on Picarto, we'll say. Trying to really get a nice transiciones there, as well as through here. Take that past there and trim it up. Oops, there we go. So Acu curve on my move brush. We'll turn that off for a sec. Should have done it this way from the start instead of trying to fight my geometry, which which is never a great idea. It's a fight that you'll win, but you might not win it as fast as you want. Alright, starting to get some good form change in there. Let's swap materials. Actually, I'm gonna keep that for a second longer just because it's brighter and it helps me see these sharper points a little bit easier right now. But that brightness wears on you. Again, I'm just kind of stepping up and down through my subdivs here while I do this to aid in some of the smoothing that's going on. And my brush is reacting wrong there, but I don't want to take the time to re-hide everything again, so I'm just going to try to fight through it. And I can't. Pabs says, this dude always on that ZBrush grind. That's right. Gotta put in the time, yeah? Let's soften this guy a little bit here and there. A little bit sharp. It's supposed to be the transition from his rib cage. If you look at the full image of the character, he's got his pants like way up to his ribs here. Very style, gosh, I cannot talk. He looks great. But yeah, there's a fold there right around his rib cage is a little lower, but as it tucks into his pants there, so try to get that form change and try to do that form a little bit better justice. It was pretty sharp and a little too sharp if you ask me. So softening that up, I think we have enough kind of unevenness in the surface following the lines of the folds that would naturally appear here. That I think that's getting to where we need. A little bit more softening though, or softening, smoothing, whatever you want to call it. Yes, the soft brush, as you can see by its name, as I have now titled it. I'm gonna go into my brushes and change the name of my smooth brush to the soft brush. Instead of subtracting the button like I did on the other piece, if you saw that, we are going to just do a mask and press the area around it. Line up my brush to be about the size of my button there. And mask it off. And it's okay if it's not perfect, because we have the technology to fix it. little something like that. Trying to get a little bit of a stronger form change there. What's the plan on this? Low poly hand painted or just ZBrush render? No low poly. No low poly here. Robert, welcome back. What did you miss? Not much of anything. Just kind of working on the shirt some more, and that's about it. Looking at the clothes right now, you haven't missed much. We're only 25-ish minutes in, so you're good. No worries. Oh man, I hate these little extra whiskers that I tried to make. I'm gonna turn them off for now, and try to mess with these side pieces. Make sure I don't have symmetry on. Turn on my topological auto mask, which pretty much is what the topological move brush is. If you guys are familiar with that one, it's just the move brush with topological masking turned on. I don't like to use the topological move brush or even this feature very often because I can never freaking grab the geometry that I want when I have so much like this. So typically I just mask the piece I want and then move it, just because it's easier. And then I can use a big move brush and make those changes. And it seems to work a little bit easier for me at least. But really it's not too different, just a little bit more control. All right. So at 11 p.m. I was on YouTube and suddenly realized, hey, it's January, I gotta sculpt. That's right. It's time to get to work. Do all the things. Sculpt all the things. Get lots of sculpting done this year. This January for sure. If you're participating in the Sculpt January 2018, I think that today is a mouth and nose. Is that what it was? Mouth and nose. And then tomorrow is a mask. There we go. I sculpted my mask. There's 2 of them. I have 3. I'll take my victory lap now. Now, doing a mask, that sounds like fun. Maybe do something like Phantom of the Opera-esque. I don't know. So many directions you could take it. So yeah, we got a bunch of junk going on with the beard and hair, which I want to look at a little bit more today. Some problems though. We need some different length pieces of hair. And we tried to fix that earlier, but we didn't do a very good job. So we're gonna look back at that today and see if we can do better. Every day we get closer to our concept here as we're working, so we just got to keep progressing and not give up and keep working on them. Keep pushing. We'll get there. Just takes time. Robert has an idea for the mask. Awesome. Definitely share it on the ZBrush Discord. Love to see it. So, the idea with these was to get some different length hair tubes here. But the end caps for them look like poopy butts, and I don't want no poopy butts for my hair. So I deleted them. And now what am I gonna do? I am going to attempt to do a better job with my curved tube brush. Wow, that was so bad. Ooh, wait, one more thing I want to change. Make my curve step longer, so I don't have so many segments. But yes, if you guys aren't familiar with this, you will be shortly. Why is that? Oh, I'm an idiot. There we go. Actually, I wish I could undo that. Maybe I can. I actually kinda like that. That might help it terminate a little bit better. Let's play with this. So I am just okay, we'll do that. That should work. I'm just gonna try to come through here and get some different length. I did it again. Some different length segments. Is that right? Length? Am I just dumb? Someone help me out. How do you say the words? I feel like in my heart of hearts that it's a different length. But then when I say it, I just sound very dumb, so who knows? Who knows the truth? We'll tuck in a lot of this geometry to try to make it more clean. I'm mirroring it over to the other side, and I just want to start that way and then maybe try to clean it up a little bit afterwards. We'll see how this does. All these are the same size right now, but we can also modify that pretty easily with inflate and some other stuff. So let's look at what we got here. We already got a decent amount of asymmetry just because of the hair being in the way, but we'll play with that here. So let's see. Grab our move brush. I'm actually going to turn off symmetry right from the get-go. Perform in auto groups, and we could probably get away with using topological masking here. They're not too close to each other. So just kind of pulling in the ends and trying to blend them. Enough so that they don't look like absolute garbage. And then we can resize some of these as well with inflate. Let's do that now. I'm just gonna grab some of these that look like they might look better if they were thicker. some of these longer ones, and then over here we can just grab a few other ones. Might delete that one since it's going against the hair there. It's going against the natural flow. We'll delete that one, but just to mask those off and come down to deformation and do an inflate. Inflate around, we'll try 3 more, 3 more. So a few different sizes there. This we will delete and grab a curved tube and grab a few more in here. Inflate some of these as well. Just trying to make it not look like all the hair is the exact same length as we play with this. Hair's tough, but I think with enough time invested, you can get some really cool results, and I don't know, it becomes fun as you play with it more. What am I looking for? Let's see here. Man, I missed a lot of questions. Have you tried fiber mesh for hair? Yes, I have. They look good, but they're hard for me to work with. There's some tips, there's some tricks to make them a little bit easier to work with poly grouping, but yeah, they can be a little tough to work with. You just got to make sure that you're using the correct groom brushes. Groom lengthen and groom spike, I think, are two of the ones that make it a little bit easier. Thyrod, welcome to the stream, says, what career did you study? When I went to college, I studied a bunch of stuff for web development, web design, graphic design, and a few other things. It was called media informatics, similar to kind of like a new media arts degree. It's kind of like a fake bullshit degree. But yeah, I didn't study this for sure. Completely self-taught. It's hard work, but I really like the result. Make some good stuff with it. Absolutely. 18 mil. Yeah, so the way ZBrush works, referring to your question or your statement there, Robert, just make sure that you have your stuff split up into multiple subtools, and you should be okay. You should be able to go into the hundreds of millions, honestly. Maybe not quite that, but you should be able to get a lot more if you just start splitting things up. The hair that I have here, this is only 2,000 polygons, so it's really not that many. That's not accurate, by the way. Those aren't polygons; those are vertices. So close to that. That's like a rough estimate of your poly count. But either way, just kind of try to work with it and split some things up into different subtools, and it should become easier to work with and not lag quite as much. And also having some subdivision levels makes it easier to work with. When I rotate my canvas, watch this. If you look at my face and some of my other geometry here, it drops down to the lowest subdivision level. That's because it's an actual 3D object right now. But as soon as I let go it becomes dropped to the canvas of ZBrush, and it becomes a 2.5D object that I am manipulating. It's a little bit of some ZBrush sorcery, but it's pretty cool. And once you understand that, you can optimize your workflow a little bit better, I think. Let's do something here. Let's do this. Let's cheat. Actually, give me that back. Try to auto groups this and just tweak that a little bit better. Trying to create some variation. It's hard to create variation though when you know, duplicate things and just reuse them. It's better to just do it from scratch. Can be some of the downfalls of, you know, digital is that you take for granted a lot of these things that make stuff easier, and then you overuse them and things look real unnatural. But we're getting there. Let's see here. You can see, I think that's starting to look better for sure. Now that we're starting to layer that a little bit better. I think the thing that annoys me the most about these is they're just not blended into these areas very well. They feel very stuck on. And that tapering that we had on the stroke actually helped in that area quite a bit. These need to blend better. But yeah, I think we're getting there. We are getting there. Uh oh, we got some Italiano, I think. I haven't looked. Romania? Never mind. Fiber mesh can be set thick. It absolutely can be made to be thick. You can also adjust the number of segments in fiber mesh. You can do a bunch of stuff with it. I mean, it's essentially geometry, but you can export your fiber mesh as curves as well, which is pretty cool. There's a bunch of little things in there to play with. Blend that a little bit better. Numa. everyone's favorite song. Turn that back off. Just delete that. Delete the unnecessary geometry. See if we can modify this one a little bit more. Merge all the hair. Not all of it. It's a lot, though. Very colorful. You can see some of the mess that's going on here. Some of it's not visible, but for the most part, I think we're okay with what we got. Again, some blending of the form here I think would be good. And we can maybe look at some of that. A little bit of some attemptive controlled chaos. It's like the oldest song. Numa Numa. What's the best thing to do to avoid burnout? What's the best thing to avoid burnout? I don't know. It's a tough question. I've definitely got burnt out on what I was working on before. I don't know. I don't know if I have an answer. I don't get burnout too often. I don't get like a general burnt outness, just because I feel like I'm pretty motivated to continue working for long periods of time and always come back to whatever I'm working on. So in terms of general stuff, I don't know, but maybe for specifics, just try different things. Spice it up. So again, trying to get this layering. So really going through these different pieces, which can be a pain, but it's definitely worth the visual appeal that you get from doing this. We have a little bit of some overlapping pieces here. A little annoying. We'll try to adjust them though. I don't even know how to pronounce that, Robert, so I just can't. I wouldn't even know. L's and I's for one look so similar. Hold on. Let's see here. Translate. I like apples and I dance every day. There you go. I said it. I do like apples, and I don't dance every day. Not every day, but most days I dance. I don't know how you found this out, but it's very close to the truth. I'll probably just go through and add additional hair tubes where I want them. Help fill in certain areas, cover up holes. Try to just make it look more clean. Oh, my scroll got stuck over here for the chat. That's the best I could do for phonetic English. M black. Let's see here. I'll try this one. It'll be bad, but Nihongo de wa ringo ga suki to mainichi dansu o shitte imasu. I like apples and I dance every day. And in some Nihongo. That's the only other language that I know a little bit of. It's not a widely used language though, so not the most helpful one to know probably. But I still like it a lot. I need some Japanese translation because I might have insulted you. How do you bake materials into textures, roughness maps, etc.? It's a fairly complicated one. X normal for ambient occlusion. Baking materials into the texture. I don't know if you can do that in X normal. If you're are you talking about ZBrush specific materials that you want to bake into your texture? Like if you wanted to bake like a reflective, like if you wanted to do toy plastic or something? Maybe I'm not sure I understand the question. Try to bring that up and not make it garbage. I cannot select this stupid, there we go. So a lot of slow work here, but the layering starts to pay off as we begin layering a bunch of these a little bit better over time. Trying to get a little bit more of a curve in a lot of these, as they're pretty stagnant. I didn't throw in a great amount of variety in these, as I just kind of quickly placed them. Now I'm regretting it. Wish I would have just done it at first. That's okay. Didn't take too long. I also need to pull them up into the top up here a little bit more. As random ones just kind of sticking out look a little strange. Let's see here. You're getting bursitis in your drawing arm. Oh no. Save you? Save me from the great demon bursitis. I don't even know. I don't even entirely know what bursitis is off the top of my dome. It sounds like a cold one. Let's see. Bursitis. I can't find the IP. Bursitis. Fluid-filled sacs in the joints become inflamed. There's a very sad man here. He was very sad and in a lot of pain. Let's look up more sad people with bursitis. Oh no! That's not good at all. Let's get off of here quick. I don't like that. That doesn't sound fun. I'll pass. Yeah, get an armrest or something. Put a pillow under that elbow. Gotta protect your bows. Look, if you don't have carpal tunnel, you're not carpal tunnel and bursitis, you're not sculpting hard enough. This is a fact. What was that? Yo, what's going on? What is this? Checkered by Jim Yost. Trying to zoom out and see which ones look like they're starting or ending in awkward places, or see which ones are too straight, and then go in and adjust them. So like that one I want to adjust. Got some weird interactions going on there, and we want to avoid that as much as we can. Some weird blending here. Tuck that in a little bit better. These ones need to do something different. Oh no. Can you show us quick the settings for baking textures, especially normal maps? It depends on the scale of your model, and it depends what you're baking as well. But I don't have any specific settings that I run with every single time I want to bake normal maps, and that's not something I do very often either way. Click Shift Smooth, then release the left click and continue smoothing. Or use the Smooth Stronger brush. I think what you're talking about there is the alternate smooth function, which I'll show here in a sec. It smooths averagely across your stuff. So I'm trying to think of where would be a good example. Probably on just one of these strokes, actually. So we'll just grab one. I'll try to grab a single piece. So holding shift and smoothing, it'll smooth like that, very strong. But if I hold shift, smooth, and let go of shift, this isn't a good example. Find a better piece of geometry to do it on. Maybe this. So I use it a lot on stuff with points. So hold shift, you can watch that smooth. But if I do it averagely, it'll kind of inflate that a little bit. It's because it's smoothing a little bit more averagely. It doesn't smooth stronger per se, but it does actually a little bit of a softer smooth, whereas the standard smooth is a little destructive. There shouldn't be a scenario where you need to increase the strength of your smooth brush, I don't think. You should try to avoid those scenarios. Typically it's because you have too high of a poly count and you're trying to smooth out a large chunk of detail. You gotta work in stages, and what that typically means is that you've gone a little too far too fast, I think, typically. So you want to try to avoid that as much as you can. I want to hide that. Maybe I don't. Bring that back a little bit. Let's try to even that out. A couple other connection points we can change and mess with here. Show us the normal map setting down in the tool section. You want me to just open it? I'm not sure what you're asking, but there's normal map down in the tool section. Show us the normal map's settings down in the tool section. I can't create a normal map. It's not gonna let me. It's all grayed out. Can't mess with that right now. I don't have anything to project details onto, or a low poly to project high poly onto. Plus, I wouldn't recommend doing normal maps in ZBrush. They don't always turn out super great. XNormal is pretty awesome though. Works really well. But I've heard that, which I haven't done it in Substance Painter, but I've heard that Substance is even nicer and easier to work with. This connection point bothers me. So let's try that, and then back face. There we go, something like that. I'm not sure why that unmasked there. So like I said earlier when you were talking about lag on your laptop, and I said split everything up so you have a little bit of some different leveled subtools. If I show this, I mean, it's a lot more laggy when I rotate around, and if I hide it, you can see it moves a lot more smoothly, a lot easier. just because this subtool specifically is less polys, like 22,000 for all these. So that's what I would recommend for that again. Just another example of that illustrated a little bit better. So we've done a lot with the beard here. Continue to play with some more of the hair. Play with some of this as well. We got some extra geometry in here that's going to be helpful for us to just delete, save on a little bit of space. Really not that much though. Some of these are duplicated, it looks like. That actually, I noticed that was a problem with that brush as well. It's another one of the little bit of annoying things with it. We'll have to play with this. Delete some of those. Just run in auto groups, and I'm going to get rid of this excess doubled up geometry. With the process of inserting curves, this happens kind of often. It's just that there's so many curves with that Meg hairbrush. It's a little tough to avoid it. I think that's all of them. And I'm just gonna leave the rest of that for now. So next we're going to mess with the hair on top of his head and try to get some more interesting shapes going on here instead of everything looking so bland and boring. I'm just kind of looking at the silhouette of the beard. Can maybe get a little bit more stuff down here sticking out. You can play with that too. But let's look at the top of the head and play with adding a lot of asymmetry since it's fairly symmetrical, and adjusting a bunch of this stuff. Turn it all off and have a nice little peacock swoop going on up top. A little rooster swoop. Blender is free. It is. You would sell your kidneys for some CGI programs, says Anubis. Oh man, that sounds awful. Robert started doing 3D a couple years ago. Started in Blender. I will never sculpt and I will not make characters, is what he said. But look at you now. Look at you now, Robert. So doing some glances at our hair here. We got some extra geometry, of course, that we can delete. So let's again do some of that and just get rid of this so we can save up on some space. Some of these, though, might actually create some form down below that we like. So let's look at that. We might actually be able to do something interesting with these. And these are doubled up here. So definitely deleting a lot of these. can see some of this extra geometry and how it's flowing down and what is actually visible there. So out of this, I will keep this piece. That was a terrible polygroup color. So I'll keep this one, and I'll keep all that. And then I'll delete the rest. And then I'll just auto-groups that. Just because that was the one that added the most form. The rest of that was just additional kind of geometry from the Meg hair brushes that we were using previously. And it wasn't adding enough form for us to really need it. It wasn't really worth the extra poly count. How many did we delete there? About 6,000 polys. So we cut it roughly, cut off a third. Yeah, roughly a third of the polys. So, all right. ZBrush for the win. That's right. I agree. All right. These little guys, I would like to merge with my beard as well. Let's turn off the beard for a minute. And organize these down. All right. Whoa. Let's change this scale here. Why do you think people online review ZBrush so badly, saying its interface is unintuitive when it's actually an in-your-face interface? In-your-face interface. That's because it's just so very different from other 3D modeling programs. And that's just because of its development and how it was created and what it was originally created for. And I'm not gonna get into all the 2.5D jazz and all that right now, but it's just because of the history of its program, and it is different and what some would consider unintuitive. A lot of things about it are unintuitive, I will say, for sure. But you get used to it, you learn it like everybody else, and then you get on with your life and get on with your sculpting, I guess. So that's the reason people say that is because it is unintuitive in a lot of areas. But there's really just a lot to know as well, which adds to it. But with that said, with there being a lot to know, there's really not a lot that you need. You can do a lot with a little. But it does help to know a lot of little different things in ZBrush, a lot of little different tricks and ways to create stuff. Especially with some of the new tools and just a lot of different stuff. Mysterious Animator X, welcome back to the stream. Haven't seen you in a bit. Says, what is the awesome overlay reference image interface thingy? Talking about this thing right here. This is called Spotlight. It's not typically used for reference images. It can be. I think it's a pretty good tool for it. And I know a lot of other people do this just like me. But it's called Spotlight. I hope I didn't say Lightbox. I meant Spotlight. But go into your texture palette, import your image, select your image, and after you select it, click Add to Spotlight, and it'll appear here. And there's this little ring here that allows you to control a bunch of different settings there. If you want to learn how to use that, go to my How to ZBrush series on my channel and go to Part 6, Spotlight. And I detail how to use the different functions in here that are most useful for you. And there's a bunch of them, and this is a little bit confusing to use. And there's some other stuff that you have to do, like turning off spotlight projection, which is in your auto masking palette in your brush menu. So some little things that make it actually workable. But if you're interested in using it, watch that tutorial, and we'll explain it in more detail than I just did. Plus, explain the different functions there that you can play with. But yeah, Spotlight. It's pretty neat. I like it a lot. I use it quite often. I want to get another curve in here before we go to the top of the head. I know I said we would do that, but first things first. Get a quick save in. Dang, it is cold right now. Why did Pixelogic disable comments? I have no idea what you're talking about. What do you mean by Pixelogic disabled comments? 2:45 a.m. and I gotta sleep. Good night. Well, good night, Robert. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming to hang out. Always appreciate you coming in. But have a good night. Go get some rest. And look forward to speaking with you later. So that's enough. I will fight the urge to do more to the beard. We can look at messing with our hairs. So I think I have enough hair kind of clogged all around back here to start creating some different curves and everything. So I'll probably start large and work our way down. So grabbing a couple here, making a, make sure that's all masked off, making a, whoa, large scale move, something like that, and then coming in with a, Jesus, no, not that, move topological, and start to adjust individual pieces. And we'll do this a few different times here with different hair pieces. Which sounds, there's a website. There's a website. It's called like herpes, and there's a few of these different websites, and I think you should just look it up yourself to to get the full experience. But every time I say hairpiece, I can't help but think of this. And I must give you this curse as well. So go, look up hairpiece herpes. Pixelogic on YouTube disabled comments on the hashtag AskZBrush series. If they disabled it on that, don't you have to disable comments for your entire channel? Maybe not. But I don't know. Maybe they just had too many people asking in those, whereas they want you to use the hashtag on Twitter, the hashtag AskZBrush. I haven't watched one of the AskZBrush videos in a while. Typically they're pretty kind of newbie questions. Sometimes there's some stuff in there that I'm like, oh wow, that's interesting. I feel like I haven't, like I said, I haven't watched one in a while, so can't really speak for it. There's definitely been some interesting videos that come out of there though. But I have no idea why they disabled comments. That would be my guess, though. I do not work for Pixelogic. Speaking about precise measurements, will you make a tutorial for ZBrush so I don't have to 3D model a ruler and use it to measure 3D models? Here is your tutorial for specific measurements in ZBrush right now. I hope you're ready. Grab yourself a cube, initialize it. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Turn off perspective. This is now a 1 unit, or it might be 2. Open your size panel. It's 0.4, a little bit weird. It's 1 subdivision though. This is what we want. You can even polygroup the whole thing. Doesn't matter. Specific measurements. Might have to do it twice just to make sure that it's exact. So my geometry here, size, XYZ, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Everything is 1 unit currently. If I take my transpose tool, what's great about the transpose tool and not great about the gizmo tool is that your transpose tool is a ruler. If I click from this point, it snaps to it. If I attach it to that vertice, it snaps to it. If I look up here, it reads it as 0.9999 units, or 1 unit. If I go from this vertice to this vertice, it will tell me that that is 1.4141 units. If I go from this vertice to this vertice, diagonally, it's 1.732 units. Units are the measurement in 3D software. A lot of people think that, you know, it's millimeters, inches, centimeters. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's all just units. And that's because when you export an object, it reads it as units. It doesn't read it as centimeters or millimeters or inches or anything else. You have to determine what those units are. So when you export this, I want to say that I'm going to say that this is inches, okay? This is 1 inch cubed. If I export this object, and I'm not going to do it, but if I opened it in Notepad, it would have some data in there saying the size of the object, as well as where these points are placed in space relative to I think the world axis, if I'm not mistaken, and some other information in there. And you guys can do that. Open up a 3D object in Notepad. Make sure it's not too big though. It might not open correctly. But there's some other things about ZBrush, like down here, your export panel. In your export panel, there's this option called Scale. And when you import something into ZBrush, it is going to give you a random-ass scale value. And it could be 816.08398. It could be 1 if you're lucky. It's not going to be 1 though. It's going to be something really random like that. And that's because it's resizing your object that was exported in units. So let's say you export it from Maya, it's in centimeters because I think that's the default value in Maya. And your object is a human figure. I don't know how tall that would be in centimeters. What is it, 2.542 an inch? So, math in my head. Gosh, let's just calculate. I'm 6 feet tall, 12 inches times 2.54, 182 centimeters. So what's going to happen is ZBrush is going to import your human figure, and it is going to make it so that your object is in its max dimension. So this is height for a human character is going to be its max dimension, 182 centimeters. You export that object, it is not 182 centimeters, it is 182 units. And that's the key thing to remember. So when you import it into ZBrush, let's see here, I think your export scale will be, yeah, okay. So it should be, if I'm not mistaken, your export scale it'll be like around 91 something, right? And the reason it's 91 something, and I want to make sure I'm doing this correct off the top of my head, is because it's at 2 units. And what this export scale here says is that when I import or export an object, it's going to multiply its dimensions by this amount. The reason ZBrush does this is because everything within ZBrush works best at 2 units. All your tools work best at that measurement. And your 3D Gizmo and Transpose tool might not even work correctly on very large scale objects. Some funny math things in ZBrush that can happen there. So that's the quick rundown. I know it is a quick rundown. It's very complicated, and it's something that you have to kind of play with and learn. But that Transpose tool is really great for measuring stuff. It can snap to vertices. You can use hold shift. You can actually use your Transpose tool to rotate specific degree amounts. If you do this, I'm holding the shift key. It's rotating and snapping every 4 units, which is 22.5 degrees. So 22.5, 45 degrees, 70 something, 90. So if you want to change that, you can go into your preferences, transpose units, transpose, and rotation steps. So if I set this to 9, it's going to snap every 10 degrees to get to 90. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. You can see that's straight up and down. So 90 degrees, 9 steps, 10 degrees each. So you can do some really cool stuff in ZBrush with specific measurements, but it's kind of under the surface, and you have to do a little bit of studying and upkeep and practice, and try to learn from as many people as you can. But that's a quick rundown. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Let's see here. So cool, I didn't notice it was showing units. Yes, absolutely. That's precious info written all down in Notepad++. Yeah, so a lot of stuff there that people don't know just about the entire kind of system of ZBrush. It's a little convoluted, but that's because of the history of ZBrush and where a lot of this stuff comes from, and that's a little bit of some dry, boring information, but it's a lot of stuff that if you're learning ZBrush now, down the road, if you want to 3D print something, or if you have a project and you have to make something a specific size, it's really important to know how that stuff works. So that's the SparkNotes version. I have thought about doing a tutorial for that in the past, just because it is so it's difficult to understand. It really is, but it's something that me and my old team that I used to work with had to have a really good system for when we were working, because we worked on stuff that was real-world scale, and we would have to mill or 3D print these digital files that we were creating and bring it into the real world. So if you're working on a human character that needed to be, 5'10", you needed to make sure that it was going to be exactly that. And you needed to make sure that all of your parts and pieces that you were breaking off and splitting up needed to fit within the same scale as well, which was very, very important and very difficult to do sometimes. You'd often run to some problems with that, especially if multiple people were working on the same project, just because one person thought it was supposed to be one way and another thought it was supposed to be a different way, and some of that stuff, again, it's hard. It's a convoluted system, but once you have it figured out, it does make more sense. But it's not easy. It's not easy to figure out. I had to delete that, but there we go. All right, let's take a look back at our hair and our dude here. So I think I'm gonna go back to my curved tube brush. Well, actually, let's continue with what we were doing first. So trying to add a little bit of variety to our hair and the forms that we got going on. We got some pretty messy, unkempt hair, and try to do our best here to get some of that in. Would also like to get some different length pieces on a lot of this as well, if I can. I need to go check on the heat. Make sure that thing's on. Let's see here real quick. It is currently, oh my gosh, it's 2 degrees outside, and it's getting down to -3 Fahrenheit tonight. It sounds awful. What do you think is better, modeling a character or sculpting? I've met some fanboys for one of those two, considering it superior in any way. What's better? So what you're asking essentially is which is the better process? Working high to low or low to high? So low poly count to high poly count, or the other way around. If you're working in production and you know exactly what you're creating and you have a very specific concept, and you have a base mesh, working low to high is going to be faster because you have a better starting point. So starting off with a really clean base mesh that's going to allow you to work on that, get it up to the point where you need it, and you're not going to have to change any form on that. Working on something that's high to low gives you the freedom to say, screw my topology, it doesn't matter. I will worry about it later if I need to. So I prefer that way just because it gives you a little bit more freedom to do whatever the hell you want. You can dynamesh and not have to just work in subdivisions if you're working on a character. I think you specifically asked about characters, you did. So I think I prefer that method. And as I am a sculptural person, I typically don't even need to do retopo a lot of the time for my kind of work. So just my side is a little bit more biased in what I prefer to do. But I definitely think if you're in like a production setting, doing something for any type of scenario where you're going to need a real-time character, working low to high is going to be more efficient when you have the base mesh already there. But in terms of modeling and sculpting, they're the same thing. Sculpting is just high resolution 3D modeling. There's really no difference there, but if you mean like box modeling, poly modeling, the world is shifting towards digital sculpting one more step every single day. So jump on, or you're gonna get ran over. That's my view, at least, on that. But we still need box modeling. We will, as long as we have polygons, vertices, and edges, we will always need our box modeling tool sets and our poly modeling tool sets. Adding some variety down here, if we can. I duplicated a lot of this and kind of cheated a little bit just to quickly get a lot of hair back here, so I need to really start changing a lot of this, creating some variation. So trying to lengthen some pieces, shorten some others, add some curve to some. Now I'm gonna try to inflate a couple of these. Try to get some different sized pieces. Try to mess with some different curves. We'll play with it. Why does Danny Mac 3D have so many subs while you have so many useful and entertaining videos? Is it his accent that attracts people? I don't know. I think Danny... I do know of Danny. I don't think we've ever spoken, but just on stream a couple times. But I think he works really hard, and I think he deserves the subscribers that he has. He's a great guy, and he definitely puts in the work, and I think he definitely deserves it. He's a cool dude, and he gives a lot of great tutorials, and he streams all the time, and he streams over on the Pixelogic stream as well. I'm sure that attracts people, attracts some attention. But yeah, I think he's deserving of it. But thank you, there was a little bit of a compliment in there. So many useful and entertaining videos, I appreciate that. Glad to help out, always. Yeah, huge shout out to Danny Mac 3D. Go check out his channel if you're not already, or if you have not already checked that out. Definitely go do. Dev Nomad, really enjoyed your how to improve your art video, and blocking out all the forms really helped me out. Hey man, glad to hear it. Glad I could help you out as well. Appreciate it. Appreciate you coming into the stream and hanging out with us. Also, nice tablet. Well, thank you. This stupid freaking hair. What have I done? Let's play with curve tubes. Let's play. Let's play a game called ZBrush. I just want to get some random little pieces here and there. Whoops. To play around. Oh no. Add some curves to those and see what we can do. Your regime? I don't think that's the right word. Your schedule made you improve so much. Saw model years a year ago and the improvements are noticeable. Should have been more rigid, and in my years I would have become a 3D god. Yeah, I mean practice definitely works, and studying works as well. It's very important. I would compare it to like dieting and exercise, right? You don't want to just, if you only diet and you never exercise, you never move, you're not going to lose weight. You're probably not going to be very healthy. And if you only exercise and you don't diet and you just shove your face full of cake all day, you're probably not going to be too healthy either. You got to do both. Same with like study and practice. You have to do both. practice the same thing all day long, and you can't just only study and never practice the technical skill and application of the thing, because then you're never actually going to improve your skill. You gotta do both. You gotta practice the technical know-how and study new ways of doing things and keep up with everything. And it's definitely a lot of work, but working hard does pay off. And I have some artists are really afraid to, I think, post shit online, and by shit I mean actual like shitty work, not just stuff, but like I think people are afraid to like show that stuff. But if I do like a quick sketch in a day and it like or if I want to show a work in progress piece and neither is very good, I'm fine with like sharing that stuff. I think it's important that people see, especially for new artists, I think it's important that they see people that maybe they look up to, and some people that have more experience than them, and know that, you know, not everything is dandelions and roses. Is that the phrase? I don't think that's right. But yeah, stuff when you're starting out and doing a work in progress, it looks like crap. Like, there's no way around that a lot of the time, unless you're just very, very fast, which I am not, unfortunately. I'm an extremely slow sculptor. One of the things that I very much want to work on. But it's hard for me to be fast and talk on stream at the same time, so like right now I'm noodling while I talk and just kind of adjusting things a little bit here, and I don't even like what I have with those little additions that I've just made. But all the same, I think it's important to share that stuff and know that yeah, your work does definitely pay off. You just gotta give it some time and keep at it. Nana Cream, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you with us. Need an anti-procrastination and exercise. Yes, I do some ZBrush stuff in the morning. Always go to the gym in the afternoon and do some more ZBrush stuff when I get back. But it's definitely very tiring, and it leaves little room for other stuff, which is why I try to keep my weekends a little bit more free, so that I can kind of play it by ear depending on what's going on. I have a 40-pound dumbbell in my hand right now. I hope that was a sexual innuendo, but I don't think it was. But that's cool. Keep up the hard work. Gotta defeat the 3D and 2D pantheon. That's right. Anton Sokolov, yes, that is who that is, from Dishonored 2, the older version of him. We've, in this stream thus far, we can roll on back here on the shirt at least, and check out the form changes that we made here. So we just kind of blocked that out at first, and then actually sculpted some folds and tweaked some stuff there, help improve that. Our beard, we can look at the differences we've made to this point, and that's not gonna work just because so much of that isn't seen. But yeah, just tweaking a lot of hair and a bunch of stuff there. I've combined some meshes, so I've lost some of my undo history. But yeah, continuing now to go up to the top of the head and try to make some changes up here as best as we can. And just give it some time, and hopefully we can make it look better as well. How we doing on time real quick here? We're about at the 2-hour mark, so we'll go for a little bit longer. As long as there are people. Alright. Just a few little strokes. Some larger ones as well. I desperately need some arcs in this hair. Because the straight lines are killing me. In a lot of this. Come on. Do you have an art station? I do! You can just Google art station Follygon and you'll probably find it. Post. Trying to get some more curves going on here. Just gonna make our hair not look so straight and boring. Actually, that's fine. Frickin' come on. Stupid topological move. So annoying. Ugh. Show me yours and I'll show you mine, is what it sounds like is happening in the chat right now. I would say never be afraid to share your work, especially if it's bad. I think the more poopy your sandwich is, the more you should share it with others, so that it may become less poopy. With an old video called The Poop Sandwich or something like that, and it's a just the idea that you shouldn't be trying to make your work better, especially in the beginning. You don't know how to do that. You probably wouldn't know if it bit you in the butt. But the idea is, instead of trying to become better, try to become less shitty. Try to make your work better by making it less bad and focusing on those things. Because the more you focus on that stuff, eventually, you know, the poop sandwich analogy, your sandwich will become slightly less poopy and less poopy and less poopy until eventually you just got a plain old sandwich. And then you can start, once you get to that point, you can actually start experimenting with ingredients and like actually sculpting. And at that point, you know what can objectively look good and objectively look bad. Like this, objectively currently, here, let's cover up some stuff. But I would say objectively bad. I would say objectively okay. We still need a lot of work on the face. Faces are tough. Heads or tails? How's your sandwich looking? Asks Ariel. My sandwich is definitely less poopy than it used to be. Every once in a while I discover a new turd though, hidden between those two slices of bread. And that's never fun. But every once in a while I'll make a pretty good sandwich that, you know, I'm pretty proud of, and I'll bite into that sandwich and it's nice and tasty, but you know, after a couple weeks I'll look back on that sandwich and it kind of spoiled a little bit and it's not as good as I remember. It looks appetizing enough for me. Well, thank you, Dev Nomad. Appreciate that. We'll continue working on him, though. I think he still needs... He's got a ways to go. Try to thicken that hairpiece. Oh, God, I need to stop saying hairpiece. I can't... Can't help it. Hairpiece. One thing that sucks about 3D, it's so slow. It takes a long time. And even after all that time you spend, it's still never finished. You just abandon it eventually and say, close enough. The sandwich is finished now. The, you know, the common saying, art is never finished, it's only abandoned. And it's true. You always feel like you can do more. But you get to choose. You get to choose when you call it finished. So again, I think we need some more variation in here. And some more of these kind of streaks up here to be up top and kind of blend in. So we'll try to do some of that as well. And I think I could stand to make these a little bit thicker, like so. Soften that a little bit more. And stay away from inflate balloon. It's not your friend. Don't believe it if it tells you it is. Just use the normal inflate. Inflate balloon inflates things to be round, but I think it does it on the world space. It's kind of weird. A lot of things are world space based in here, like the bend and the skew and the taper. They're weird. Inflate's a good one though. I use that a lot. Art is like the kid of the father that never came back from buying cigarettes. Abandoned. You must abandon your artwork. Okay. So a rough move there with our rotation. And man, that one looks terrible. I'll mess with that individually. So trying to do what we did to our beard up front, just with a little bit more variation. Trying to do a better job back here. Sounds like Batman right now. There's a lot of the same stroke going on through here. I think I'm gonna delete. Maybe not delete, but hide these a little bit. And let this stroke take up that form. I don't want too many repetitive strokes through there, as it starts to look really, really awkward, and just they're all going the same way, and I don't need that many strokes there representing that form. All right, just really roughly. Whoa! Really roughly. We'll try that again. Try to get a couple of these in here. And I polygrouped all that. It's just going to make it easier for me to select some of these here in a moment. but I'll regroup these for sure. Problem with the move topological brush is that you have to initially click on the geometry piece that you want to modify, and that just makes it really hard because you have a large brush and you want the influence to affect it even though you're not directly clicking on it. So I want to pick where that affects it, and I can't really do that with the move topological brush, unfortunately. But that's because I'm clicking on different geometry. So it makes sense. It's just how the tool works though. Try to get that to tuck in there a little bit better. Look a little bit more natural. Following with that edge there, and try to get a lot more of these in here. Nana, gotta go. No problem. Thanks for joining us here on the stream. Glad to have you with us, but have a great night or day, whatever you got going on. But hope to see you in the next stream or whenever you're available. See you later. Nana Cream. That's a great name. So starting to get some layering in here. We should also do the same up top. Some of like what we're doing on the beard in the front. Give it some more form. Try to add some of these longer ones up through here. And, oh, actually, a little late at this point, but let's polygroup the rest of those so that we only have the long ones. All right, and now some more tweaking. So starting to get some layering in there, which helps it not look so uniform, which is a big issue that we want to avoid as much as possible. Also playing around with the thickness of different meshes. It's going to help a lot too. We think that maybe our hair is too thick, we can always kind of scale it in. If we think we're getting a little too poofy, so to speak. Strand is annoying me. This area is annoying me. This hairia. Ho ho. Hair puns. Har har. Hair har. I'm sorry. He needs about 1,300 more wrinkles. Don't say that. Don't say that. That's too many more wrinkles, Ariel. But you're very right. He's got so much stuff going on here. He needs a lot of work, for sure. And we'll get there. I think we can do some stuff with some alphas, since we have some of the larger wrinkles and stuff in here, which I have not done yet on this guy, which is good news actually, that we haven't used any alphas, because that means that we've done all this by hand, and that we still have a good amount of work that we can do on this guy. And of course, after you use a bunch of alphas, you want to use a variety of alphas for your skin, and then you want to kind of hand sculpt over top of that in some form or fashion so that you can get some variation there as well. Just because things end up, again, with digital, it's so easy to go overboard with those alphas and stuff. So you want to be careful that you don't go too crazy. But one example of some alphas here on the nose with some quick pores that I created. I can probably do that on other parts of the face, and we'll look at that later. But I haven't looked at the eyebrows in a long time. These are just little Meg hair brush insertions, and you can tell that by these cylindrical tufts of hair. So we'll probably look at those as well. And I wanted to. Are those symmetrical right now? They shouldn't be symmetrical. Okay, they are. Well, they shouldn't be. I wanted to thin one of these out, this one, up towards this top area, as well as, could have sworn I must not have saved, but yeah, I don't know. I had done more work to these, I remember. It looks like whatever happened, we didn't keep it. It's not a big deal though. Not too much. Plus, I want to work with them more. But a bunch of hair stuff. A bunch of hair stuff in this stream, for sure. He's a hairy boy. This looks way too uniform through there. Try to break some of this up. Just wanted to make sure that my poly groups didn't carry over from the other side. Trying to thin these out. There's a bunch of these extra pieces back here that are just hanging on for dear life. Please don't delete me. Oh crap, did that the wrong way. And give us our move topological again. Delete all the things. All the extra crap we don't need. And some of the crap that we do need. On accident. Nah, we're fine. So I don't think there's a way I can do this with these, but with fiber mesh you can scale the root, which is something I would like to do right now on all of these, but there's no easy way for me to do that. So what I would have to do is inflate them. Ooh, not that much. Something like that, and then come through and like tap smooth these. It's meh. Oh no. Another bad song. I'm just kidding. Trying to find stuff without a ton of talking. Very floofy in the eyebrow region. I mean, I can manually increase the size on a lot of these. It might might be a lot of work though. Fiber mesh is actually pretty good at doing stuff for eyebrows, I have found. Just because they're small and simple enough to where you can control most of what's going on, but you can do that relatively quickly. But with stuff on top of the head, it gets a little harder. It gets a lot harder actually. That's why a lot of people don't like fiber mesh. Random question, for your final renders, how much Photoshop work do you normally do on top of the sculpt / render itself? Typically not a ton, but in the future I'm looking to do some more stuff with multiple render passes. I already do stuff with multiple render passes. I would say that it's not a lot of extra stuff, but if you like, I don't do any matte painting over top or anything like that really. If anything, I paint highlights, but it just kind of depends on what I need. But other than that, I don't think that much. I think I've done a video in the past showing, in one of the streams recently, I think I showed some quick render tips. I don't know if it's labeled as such to indicate that I do some rendering stuff in there. I might be able to tell by looking at them. Live streams. Oh, here we go. ZBrush live stream. Rendering. Let's see. Skip to 33 minutes in, and I'll show you some rendering tips and tricks that I do for some quick render export out of ZBrush into Photoshop. I use, in that video, if you go into Z plugin, ZBrush to Photoshop, I use this feature here with some of the options checked, and if you're more interested in that, you can check out that video. But for a more conclusive answer, that's what I would recommend. But I go over a way that you can get some pretty quick, decent renders to show off your work out of ZBrush instead of just, you know, doing a BPR and rendering the layers out of there. The ZBrush to Photoshop plugin is great for getting some quick stuff out, and even great if you're gonna take it farther with additional render passes. It can be very useful for that kind of thing. But yeah, give it a shot. Delete more. I don't even like these at all right now. We'll have to come back to them probably. And by probably, I mean definitely. Too many straight pieces. It's too annoying to go through here. Thanks, kind of a weak area of yours. No problem, dude. Hopefully you find it helpful. If not, I'm sorry. Sorry I couldn't be of help. Another thing, ZBrush is lagging on you. It's only lagging because I'm zoomed in so far on the face here. I'm moving around a bunch. Subtool Master, which is in Z plugin. Where is it? Low res visible. It'll run through all your subtools and make everything its lowest subdiv. And it'll help just a wee bit, so it's not trying to rotate so much stuff. And another thing you can do, the best solution of all, is just hide the junk that you don't need to see. Much more smooth now. So those two things. Mainly the hiding of extra geometry is the most helpful though. Shouldn't say extra, excess? The stuff that you don't need to look at. I should have, Captain Hindsight here, should have just done way less fibers to get a similar look to the hair on the beard as well as the head. Less, I think, with this style of hair is more appealing typically. And right now it's just a convoluted mess that I have to sit here and clean up. But we were playing with new brushes and that's what we get. It's worth it to continue to experiment, find what works and what doesn't. All right. All right, all right. We've done some additional work here on our beard, on working with some layering. We've done some good stuff to the clothing that we got. We've done some additional stuff with the hair on the back of the head, and I think that could stand to use some additional work up top, especially. The face needs more work. The eyebrows do as well. This guy needs more work. And even when I call it finished, it's going to need more work. But that's okay, because I will eventually have to stop working on it and move on. But until then, we will keep pushing forward. Trying new things here. Did not tweak this one, this hair strand, this curve. I don't think it was visible. I want to look at the face for a little bit longer here. Maybe some hair up top, but I'm gonna bounce off of this guy in a few. So if you guys got any additional questions before I head out here, I'll give you guys some time for the people that are kind of just popping in here. It looks like some new people have come in here recently. So if you guys got any questions or anything like that, let me know and I'll do my best to answer them. But until then, I'll continue working on this dude here and head out here shortly. Alright, I'm going to play with his face just a little bit longer here, do a little bit of noodling, and then bounce on out of here. So I'm just gonna I'm actually gonna use my clay tubes brush since I've been using the build-up one for the past little bit. So we'll try this just for a little bit longer here. And I actually want to look at some alphas as well for a second, as soon as I'm done here. Just look at a couple things. Whew. All right. Crap. I normally select those by double clicking them, but I had Spotlight open, so it freaks out and applies it to here. I can get this guy by doing tile selected, and then removing that back into place there. So that's fine. All right, just looking here at my color, or I'm sorry, not my color spray, just my normal spray with a brush alpha applied. Probably gonna need a fairly large brush. And I also want it to be extremely weak. Something like that. Get an idea of what I'm going for. To add a little bit of texture there, using spray with an alpha. If I do it additively, I can get the same, or yeah, that would be additively. So I have it on subtract right now. That's more of what we're looking for, and we can try to play with that. We can also do some stamps by using drag rectangle, but just to get some general texture in here with some quick strokes. This is a fairly good way to get a base of that. So just applying that in a couple areas to like just see what it looks like with what we're working with. We already have so much texture going on that we might want to clean some stuff up before we start kind of playing with some of this stuff, but I just want to get an idea. And even applying this right now, it's not that big of a deal, just because I can, if I'm going to clean it up, it won't take that long. We can play with some of the other ones here. A lot of these are pretty strong. These are just default in Lightbox. You can find some stuff on the internet and play with it, but using drag rectangle here, probably need a little bit stronger of an intensity. You can see those pores start to pop up. Like that. But you want to be careful with these default textures. Alphas, I guess is what we should call them. So that's what they are. As they're pretty easily recognizable. These are like so small and almost not visible. And again, like I said, we have so much texture and messiness going on already that we might want to think about hitting this with a trim brush first. I'll have to think about this, how I want to tackle this kind of thing. As you can see here, as I take my trim brush to this, start to level the surface quite a bit. So that's what the trim brush would react like. You can get an idea of that. And then with the smooth brush, it's a lot more destructive to your subtle forms that you've built. So I'm more of a fan of using something like the trim brush, personally, as you can kind of choose where you want to keep some of that form. That's never seen. This stuff doesn't even matter here, so anything below that line isn't that big of a deal. But I think we should clean up some of this with our trim brush, and we can look more at the face in our next stream. Like I said, I want to kind of think about how I want to tackle this a little bit more before I dive headlong into it, and then we can do that in the next stream. I think that's a good jumping off point. But Larventhalos, welcome to the stream. I think you've been on a stream before, if I recall. I recognize your name. But Smooth Peaks could do something like that. Honestly, I think some of the forms, if we can pop this guy back open here, just some of the forms are a little bit too warbly for my liking. And maybe some smooth peaks with some trim dynamic. So you want to be careful here with your trim brushes, because if you have some real nice form that you have like this, you can end up filling in a lot of these cracks. So a lot of your brushes in general can be really destructive, and you got to be careful with how you use your stuff, especially if you're working on a higher subdiv like I am here. It's easy to just take essentially just a big old rock and smush it against your sculpt, and then you can't get any of that back. But yeah, I think some trim brush to clean up some of these valleys just a bit, and more so these additive regions. I would like to clean those up and smooth those out. Just so we have a little bit more consistency throughout these forms. But yes, we've been streaming now for almost 3 hours here, so I think that's like I said, a good place to jump off on. And I'll take a look at this guy and really think about how I want to do that. in the next stream. So until then, thanks everybody for stopping in and hanging out, coming to chat. Always appreciate you guys doing that. We've done a lot of work on this guy tonight, and we'll continue doing a lot of work to him each morning and night as we continue to get a bunch of stuff done here. So I'm gonna save this guy out. Z tool number 6 sounds good to me. All right. Well, until next time, guys. Next stream, next video, whatever we end up doing. Another quick shout out before I head out for the Sculpt January 2018. Again, not affiliated with this for the people that are new, just popping in here. But if you're looking for something to start the year out right and have a little bit of a cool sculpting challenge, for the month of January, you can participate in this. Perform each of these sculpts every day of the month for January. Tweet out a photo using their hashtag, and for all the people that complete each one, they're going to choose 3 to randomly win an Intuos Pro Medium, which is pretty cool. Definitely check out Sculpt January 2018. You're allowed to do some late if you join late as well, so no worries there. So check out the guys who are putting it on as well. Cool group of dudes, and I think that's about it. So until next time. Thanks for the stream, says Nomad. Absolutely. Thanks for, again, coming to hang out and play ZBrush with me. So I'll see you guys in the next one. All right. Bye now.